How many more crises must hit before we see an international system that stops dividing us and starts to lift us up?
The COVID-19 pandemic has forced governments into unprecedented action to save lives and preserve livelihoods. But some of these actions increased the very inequalities that made our societies so vulnerable before the crisis. Advanced economies mobilized trillions of dollars to make sure financial markets ran as usual. But in developing countries, contagion was as much about markets as microbes. Even before the pandemic spread, many countries were being engulfed by a tsunami of debt distress. The external debt stocks of developing countries grew by $500 billion in 2020. With these debt problems unresolved and natural disasters multiplying, the challenge has become too big for many countries to respond to alone. The pandemic is projected to make developing countries $12 trillion poorer by 2025. Vaccines remain unavailable to the majority of the world, while rich countries have hoarded more than they need. Now, the danger is doing too little, too late.
The development side of new financial mechanisms or facilities for the developing countries to be able to get out of this crisis with less pain, with less inequality, is UNCTAD business.
Governments must increase spending on care, social programs, and green job creation to make economic security a reality. But this cannot be restricted to rich economies. Developing countries need significant debt cancellation and additional fiscal space for action. Official development assistance and climate finance commitments must be upheld, and new sources of financing must be expanded. The 21st century needs its own Marshall Plan, mobilizing at least 1% of global GDP annually to invest in a sustainable future for all. The health crisis reminds us that none of us are safe until all of us are safe. The lives of current and future generations will depend on whether we meet the moment with the conviction and collective action it demands.